Or to introduce myself.
Hello.
Good morning.
Oh,
Good
good.
morning,
For a second, I was like, wait, is my computer muted? It sometimes does happen.
Good morning.
Good
How
morning.
are you guys? Give it a couple minutes. I think Matt is joining us. I'm not sure. Let me see. Hmm. Kelly, you can't see me? Can anyone see me? I can see me.
No. It's
No,
just
I
a
can't
black
see you.
square.
That's weird. No, I don't. The way I see it, I can see everyone like normal. So I have no idea why it's doing that.
Maybe hit stop video and start video again.
Okay, let's see. Any different?
Here. Do you have anything covering your camera?
No, I can even see myself in on my home screen. It's weird.
Weird.
Video settings. Interesting.
That happened to someone last week on a session. They logged off and came back in and they were able to be seen. So maybe
That's
something
weird.
else.
All right, I can try that.
Okay.
All right, if y'all need to see me that badly, let's see what happens. All right, I'll be right back. Same thing? That's so weird. So you
Yeah.
just see my name in a block?
Yep.
Weird. Better figure that
Right.
out.
We just have the pleasure of hearing your voice.
Hi, that is not on purpose. That is super strange.
Make faces at us and we won't know.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some setting somewhere that has been changed and I need to figure out what it is, but
Yeah, restart when you're done and see what it does.
yeah, but in the interest of our time, I will do that later. Okay. So let's see. All right, so looking at the agenda for next week, so crazy. We've got our pretty straightforward agenda, welcome minutes, update on RFPs. I wonder, well, my only thought on that one is just sort of the phrasing, because I think that update might be broadly update on recommendations, but I guess if Matt, who is not here now to speak, wants his update to be focused on the RFPs, that is okay. That was just a thought that occurred. And then we will go into work group updates, which I think have really come along. Settlement work group is looking for a vote on their independent funding assessment input for that RFP that is related to the settlement. So Luckily, our meeting is the day before the due date for commentary, so we'll have the opportunity to weigh in as a full consortium if we approve of the language they're bringing us. And Haley, they have some specific, I mean, they'll be making a presentation on their input, and correct? And then, oh, Chuck's here.
Oh, good. Maybe Chuck can give the update, because I was just gonna fill in.
Okay, well, we'll circle back to that. I'll finish going through the agenda and then we're gonna circle back. Chuck, you came just as we were speaking of you. And then it looks like we'll have social determinants going through their agenda, which again, we can circle back when we get to work group updates. And then in terms of the governance or redistricting working group, we do have some structural announcements to make on how that will be taking its next steps. So that is good. And then I think educators actually might have a bit of an update as well. I was just talking to Noelle just before this because her teaching schedule, I have to just check in with her a little bit beforehand. But related to the RFP updates, it looks like we'll have another chunk of what looks like will have formerly been attached to the problematic RFP that we talked a lot about, and that will move those funds along with the $495,000 that we identified for that work group to be working on with OMB to create a spending plan to make sure that it aligns with the recommendations. So that's good news. So we can perhaps have them speak to that. And I think, you know, maybe in the next week, I only spoke to Noelle, but Noelle and Mike can touch base with each other. And she had suggested they might, you know, want to announce that they'll be reconvening to discuss that with the group to make sure that they're getting that right. There is not a spending plan yet. Doesn't exist yet. We just found out that we will have those funds available that we can move all into one pot of just shy of $1 million. So rather than it be attached to an RFP, I think it looks like we're going to have that just sort of be one of those things that we submit a spending plan to OMB about. So they may have a little bit more of a robust update, or at least to say that they may be calling another meeting or two on that front. So I think that's a pretty solid set of updates that we have for next week, just in terms of the agenda. Before we move on to actual work group updates that are a little more substantive, does anyone have any questions about that agenda? I will just note, just as a footnote, we do not have a specific agenda item to talk about the Learning Collaborative because we're not doing anything about it this month, or, you know, further, we sort of moved that into the work group space. So if anyone has questions, certainly we can address that there. But, you know, that may come back before us as a full body, depending on how that goes in the work group. All right, so let's move on to work group updates. Raya, I see you there with your camera on. And did you want to speak to what will be spoken to at next week's meeting in terms of the December to February agenda? What we can expect? Or are you frozen? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Social determinants work group update includes some additions to our membership. Kristen Dwyer will be replacing Jeff Tackner, presenting GSA.
Oh, did we just lose her? I think we lost her. Okay, we will circle back. We got one piece of it. Oh, wait. Not the only one having technical issues today.
I can provide the update if Ray is able to get back on. It looks like she's
on, but she
here.
may be having audio connection issues. So you want to give it, Haley, and then she can weigh in.
Sure. So I think if everyone heard her say, we've added Kristen Dwyer to the group. Jeff Taschner suggested she replace him. So we've extended an invite to her. We've also added Cora Scott to the group as well. And, oh, Dr. Rouser, I'm forgetting the doctor's name that you're working with. She's also been added to the group.
Yes, Dr. Johnson.
Johnson,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
So those additions have been made, and then the plan for the December through February is to focus on sharing and collaboration, sort of those 5 streams that the work group had focused on. We're focusing on sharing and collaboration. So we're bringing in, we're going to hear from Jim Simmons at the December meeting to talk about the Wilmington Learning Collaborative. We're also going to hear from Kim Williams and Don Alexander about a House bill. I think it's House Bill 144. And then we're also going to hear from Yvette Santiago about another bill that they're hoping the work group will support. And then January and February, we'll focus on some presentations from Adrian Peoples on data, and also Terry Lawler about some of her trauma-informed work. So I think those are the updates.
Okay.
Let me know if anyone has questions or additions.
Haley,
see- Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tika.
Will Kristen be moving off of the settlement group, or is she going to just stay on both of them?
I think she's going to stay on both of them, as I understand it. If she has the capacity to, maybe we'll check in with her about that. But I think she's staying on the settlement group.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I see John's hand.
Thank you. And the presentation on the 13th will be actually given by, I'll be there to support if needed, but that will be given by Kristen Dwyer and Representative Williams.
Okay. Thank you. Sounds like a lot going on at Social Determinants. So that's maybe sort of a little bit of our don't miss meetings coming up. That's excellent. Okay. So now no one has any other questions about what Social Determinants is up to. It is a lot. We will move on to Chuck to let us know what we can expect in terms of the presentation and vote next week on the input for the independent funding assessment RFP.
Sure, we made a lot of great progress in the settlement work group, put together the meet for a letter to go to the consortium, the big consortium, for a vote at the next meeting. We're just finalizing tweaks and formatting and a little bit of wording here and there on it, via email, but we're just about there.
Nice, excellent. So we'll be receiving that in advance so that we should have all reviewed it before we
Yep,
kind of hear from you on it.
that's
Okay.
the idea.
All right, good. We'll have to try to make sure that we get all of our members to read that before they come to the meeting. I know that's easier said than done, but yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
Just a quick logistical question. So I'm assuming that if they're going to get approved at the Reading meeting, and we had discussed as our small team, should Haley send those in on behalf of the consortium, or should that come from Tizzy and Matt?
I mean, I am open to that. I mean, probably, well, so I guess it'll be signed by us on behalf of the full consortium, assuming we have full approval, right? In terms of what the text of the letter reads. I'm not sure that it's important that it comes from our email addresses, as long as that sort of isn't a formal, message that clearly comes from the full consortium. I think it's okay if it is submitted by Haley, in my opinion.
Okay.
Any other objections to that?
Or Chuck or Aaron, I mean, I think
Yeah,
when
I mean,
they had
probably-
said,
Probably the 4 of us in terms of being named on the letter on behalf of the full consortium, presuming we've got the full consortium backing that we will have it.
As long as someone does it, right?
That's right. Yeah, someone's got to send it in or else we're in trouble. We have a 24-hour window.
just want to make sure it does get sent in.
I think that's a good reason to have it be a staff responsibility, because I would love to, I trust that you guys will make sure that that gets where it needs to get in the time that it needs to get there. Okay, good. I'm looking forward to that. Again, we don't have any representatives from educators, but I gave you guys a bit of an update in terms of the increased funding that work group will be able to create a spending plan around. So that will be a little bit of work for that group to coalesce around in the coming weeks. And so I think we'll be hearing from them about that soon. And then in terms of the governance committee, Haley, did you want to give an update? Do you want me to give a little bit of an update in terms of what I do know?
I think you probably know more than me. Kelly and I got
Okay.
a quick update from Chris, but
Okay. Yeah, so we have been, having some meetings with Representative Chakotcha. Obviously, Eugene Young has moved into a different role, so is not going to be a consortium member and therefore at this time, not a co-chair of that. So we talked about how to proceed with sort of the reestablishment of that work group to focus on redistricting. And so Representative Chakotcha has been doing some work on that. And at this stage, he's just been focused on bringing on a co-chair as opposed to any, broader work group at this stage. And so he has asked County Councilman Jay Street to be his co-chair that we have approved. So they are going to be initiating, what that work stream is going to look like. I think, I can say that we expect, I will take a look at that note in just a second. And sorry, I got a note, so I got distracted. But we expect primarily the immediate work to be to we need to rerun the legislation that actually empowers the Reading Consortium to do redistricting work, because obviously that timed out when we tabled the work for the pandemic. So in terms of substantive next steps, that is a clear one. And, and then of course we have this, this likely co-chair appointment coming along, and then we expect a work plan to come not far behind that. So that's about where things are standing with governance and redistricting. Haley, did I miss anything?
nope. Sounds good.
And we mentioned it up top about the Wilmington Learning Collaborative not being on the main agenda because we're not taking any action around it at this time. Obviously, it's making the rounds. The staff have been attending the board presentations so that we can stay in the loop about how that all is going. We have solicited specific questions from consortium members, and I guess our full, just members or our full email list for questions.
I think I sent it to the full email list, but I have to double check about that.
Okay.
But we've
Yeah.
asked for feedback from the social determinants work group members as well. And I've
Okay.
sent a few follow-up emails and I really haven't received any questions. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've seen that. And so, we'll see if perhaps in the social determinants work group, there'll be some more pointed discussion about that. But, and I did personally attend, so did Representative Chakotcha, a meeting that was called by Safe Schools. There's a number of people who are involved in Safe Schools who are involved in a couple of our work groups as well, who asked us to meet with some community members to talk about the collaborative. So we have had that participation, and we are, continuing to seek to be hopefully, a conduit for stakeholder feedback from the community that we can share with the governor's office as this goes through its next paces. But if it becomes appropriate at some time for us to take it outside of the work group or consider some action on the Reading Consortium full body level, you will all be the first to know. Yeah, Tika.
Are you aware of, are there any places where they are putting response to questions that people have? Because what I've noticed from sitting through the presentation multiple times now is often the questions that people have and the details that they're really looking for information on, either they don't have quite a response yet, or it's said that it'll be decided by the collaborative. So For the ones where they say that, we'll get more information, or is there a place that you know of where that is being shared out?
Not yet. I mean, Haley, would you say we're getting that, we're capturing that in our notes in terms of questions that are being asked?
Yeah, I would say I'm capturing as much of the response as like the governor and his team are giving. But in
Right.
terms of like those specific follow-ups, I don't know if like Governor Carney and his team are sending any answers like directly to school boards. I haven't heard of any like open space where there's actually, transparent information.
And
Or
that's more
answers.
of what I was referring to. So not necessarily on
Mm-hmm.
our end, but people are really looking to get answers from them to some things that are just not coming. So it's kind of like, so now I've been in groups that's like, they keep asking us for questions, but we aren't getting questions answered. So what's the point of asking questions?
No, I think you're right on. I think we're collecting notes in part so that we know sort of what people are asking and kind of not being answered. I think sometimes I see the presentation changing slightly here and there, but I think Ray had made the point at our last planning meeting that, if we're sort of designating ourselves to kind of be collecting questions or soliciting questions from members or hearing them, that we can, I think we are putting ourselves in a position to send those up to the governor's office and say, hey, it would be great to have a response to this, but ultimately it's going to be up to them to give us that. I think we're going to continue to seek it and share with them the feedback and questions we're getting. And we might suggest to them that they provide a formal space with responses. I know there is a website dedicated to the Learning Collaborative. Does anyone have that link handy? I can try to pull it up. I saw that John Sheehan shared it in that Zoom that I was on earlier this week. So I don't know if they're putting answers there, but certainly I think we or I can share that suggestion with them, but it's going to be, we're leaving it up to them to offer very direct responses to questions that they have said they are going to get back to us about.
Thank you.
Yeah. There it is. Look at that together. Let me see if there's any. Looks like it's a little bit more about soliciting feedback and upcoming conversations than it is providing any answers at this stage, it looks like, right?
That's helpful though. I wonder if some of these info sessions are going to be virtual too, because it'd be good to listen in.
I think they're going to be in person because we definitely have gotten some feedback about there being, a lot of the board meetings are not within the city limits.
Right.
So, I think this is the effort that they're making to bring these conversations to the ground. Hopefully, perhaps they'll be hybrid. That would be really convenient.
Right.
But,
that's definitely what I meant, like a hybrid component, so we can listen in if we.
Yeah. Maybe reach out to John Sheehan and see if they can accommodate that, if that's gonna be a thing. I hope so.
Yeah, still reach out, but I'm pretty sure that they're looking into it because we have 2 locations in our district that we're hosting. And they've engaged our tech people to talk about options for streaming. I don't know if they're talking about interactive, but at least so that people can watch.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chuck. Awesome. Okay. All right.
And the other
So,
thing too, that I'd like to
Mhm.
suggest, if you're interested in all of the questions people are asking, go back and look at the board recordings for each board meeting. I know that just Christina's board had a lot of questions, especially around high schools and connection
Yes.
to what happens after the collaborative and at least the scope of grades that I think is part of it. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
I can also.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Haley.
I was just going to say, I shared my notes from the board meetings, I think with Tizzy and Matt and Kelly, but I can share them with this group too, all the notes that I took from the Christina Redclay and Brandywine board meetings, if that's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Chuck, do you know if the special board workshops are recorded as well?
I'm not sure. I know we record ours, but I don't know about the others. I don't know what that requirement is. We just do it.
Yeah. Okay. So more to be seen there. And of course, and actually the community-based meeting that I attended, I think there was definitely, a lot of the questions we were getting, I think showed the need for clarity, I guess, or the lack of clarity around the difference between what this is doing versus some like longer term systemic and structural change that redistricting would represent. And, you know, I guess sort of the potential connection between the two, or the utility of doing the one while the other one is kind of cooking. So I think that's just something for us to be thinking of and aware of. Okay, any other questions on the Learning Collaborative saga?
Well,
Okay.
so this isn't necessarily collaborative or necessarily governance and redistricting and all that, but I just want us, as we go forward with all these different things, you know, we're dealing with a transportation crisis in a way, getting enough drivers, aides, all that kind of stuff. And we're also talking about what are we doing for city education? I just don't want us to ever lose the dimension of transportation, and maybe with the role that a better public transit system in and around the city could do for us. So I just want to put that out there as something that, if it can be an asterisk at the bottom of the notes for the collab or whatever, maybe it's not addressed by the collab, but you know, it's got to be just along with high schools, it's got to be talked about.
Yeah, I think that's,
Because one of my board members said, sometimes there's not really choice, it's an illusion of choice. And I loved what she said when she said that. And
Yeah.
part of that is the ability to get to some of these different choice options and charter options that students have on paper, but not necessarily in reality. And I think a transit system could help with that.
I think that's a great point, Chuck, because the other thing I think sometimes that gets overlooked with that illusion is we got them on a bus, but now they're on that bus for an hour to only really go 10 minutes down the road.
Man, that is the truth. No, I think that's very, very salient. I think it's always been as connected to the choice debate. That's always been an issue, but I think right now you're right in the sense that we're facing a crisis that I think really brings it into focus and maybe provides an opportunity to finally do something different. And whether that fits into a governance conversation that's looking at, you know, to me, governance, obviously for us is redistricting, but to me, it also covers those other types of you know, school assignment issues. So perhaps it does fit in there, but that's something, yeah, I like that as an asterisk. And I saw Haley writing things down. So Haley, maybe we can make sure to mention that when we're working up the work plan for governance, see if it feels like it fits or if it fits elsewhere.
Got it.
Okay, great. All right. If anyone has any other questions about agenda or work group updates or Wilmington Learning Collaborative, now is the time. If not, don't know if I see any publics. Do you have any public?
I have, I'm sending the questions about, I'm sending the Learning Collaborative questions regarding early learning. I'll make you all aware, I am submitting those today. Haley, just so you know they're coming. My big questions have been, I know that Colonial doesn't have any schools in the city of Wilmington, but we certainly work closely. And we have families who live in the city of Wilmington. So how will families who reside in the city of Wilmington, but are in the Colonial feeder pattern be included? And children and families, and then also regarding early learning, is the expectation that the full day pre-K be in city schools? And I'm thinking that the answer is no, and I'm hoping the answer is no, because we have a lot of partnerships with high quality early learning programs, and we need to think about the long-term impact of excluding community partners from this work. So Wilmington Head Start, Christina Cultural Arts Center, Kingswood Community Center, St. Michael's. Those are a few of the examples of programs that are receiving ECAP and now the Reading funding. And anyway, I just want to make sure that there's intentional planning. So an intentional partnership with high quality programs.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, John. I think that kind of fits, obviously on the other side of the spectrum of the questions that we were hearing about high school and about, just Wilmington students that don't attend schools that are physically in the city of Wilmington. And what does this mean for them when we know that they are also struggling in similar ways? So thank you for that. That's good. I'm glad we're going to have that.
So on some of that
record.
was touched on a little bit when they presented to the Brandywine School District, because they were talking about how many of the students that actually live in the city attend schools that are outside the city, and many residents that may not even need the additional supports that are placed actually attend the cities that are located physically in the city. And so there they may be on both ends missing the appropriate pool of children.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Okay. Well, see, we're getting some good questions. We're getting some good thought work. I think we're going to get there. I think social determinants probably will really put it over the top too. Okay. Anything else before we wrap up? I feel pretty good about next week's meeting. I think we have some interesting stuff to grapple with. And, I do think we're going to start seeing some substantive stuff in the new year. We will be able to, I think we're going to do some visits of pre-Ks where we've seen enhancements of seats due to those resources and things like that. So while it can feel a bit like we're in an administrative holding pattern on our work, I hope everyone feels assured that there is real stuff happening, and we're going to continue to keep moving in that direction. So thank you for everything that you have done to help get us to this point. We'll keep on moving. So we'll see you guys on Thursday. Hopefully I'll fix this technical issue before then. So you'll see me too. All right.
Bye, thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.